This podcast is a production of Digital and Creative Media Works. To help support us, head to dcm.works to find links to our other show notes, Patreon, and merch. Hey guys, welcome back to the Alpha Artist Podcast, official podcast of Digital and Creative Media Works. My name is David DCM, creative director, lead writer, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben.
Hello.
Hello, Ben's in the house, and today, a special guest, Laura.
Hello.
As always, returning special guest. Great to have you on the show, Laura. I said
Great
that
to
like
be
it was
here.
Jimmy Fallon. I don't know.
Like a
Good to
first
be here.
time thing, yeah.
Hi, welcome to the show, Laura. It's great to have you.
What movie
You've
are
never
you
told me
promoting?
that before, David.
Yeah, which film did you work on with Andrew Garfield? No, so today it's that time of the goddamn year once again. It's Star Wars time.
It's Star Wars The Last Jedi time.
Yeah.
Star The Last Jedi was. Oh, good joke, Ben.
Yeah.
So this time we're talking about the narrative of Star Wars The Last Jedi to see if together we can figure it out. As always, at the top of... Yeah,
Are we talking about the narrative?
narrative of The Last Jedi.
Okay.
And to because I figured together we could maybe muddle through whatever the fuck this film was.
Yeah.
And as always, if the name of the thing is in the title of the episode, spoilers. So
Spoilers.
If you
So
have
many to say, and they all include spoilers.
all of them except
Yeah.
for this, and this isn't a spoiler, but the two words I was saying on the walk back
yeah.
to the car
yeah, what
that
were
this
they?
film is easily summarized in two words, and those two words are space wizards.
Space wizards.
Space wizards.
Space wizards.
Because that was a lot of this film. So that's all
Yeah.
I'll say. And now
Space
it's,
wizardry in the
a
space
lot of-
wizard realm.
now
lot
it's
of,
spoilers.
like-
Spoilers from
yeah.
here. Turn it off. I'm giving you a 10-second. If you listen past this point, you send me an email because I know what's about to happen. Close down your email application. Just stop listening, please. Thank you, Laura. Go.
So the
what?
trailer.
You started speaking. I
So
cut
the
you.
trailer
I-
didn't spoil anything.
No, because
No, it
how do you
didn't.
spoil what that
Yeah,
We
was?
like,
thought
how do you
that the
spoil
trailer
that?
was like spoiling.
I thought the trailer was like
but
super
It
spoilery.
wasn't. There was
Well-
nothing.
Yeah, it was like the trailer. Well, no, the trailer kind. But then.
Nah, but
Yeah.
there were. The thing is that there were key moments in the trailer in this film, but they
But
were
then it
out
was
of
like, what the
context.
twist?
So they meant
Yeah.
something completely different in context.
Yes, and I think that is something that Rian Johnson has always done well as a director. Like just from like
Was this? Well, I thought this was JJ Boy.
Rian Johnson?
Oh, that's probably why it was so good.
Yeah,
Was he was the writer? He was credited as the writer.
yeah. He wrote it. He wrote the
Yeah.
script, but I think he was like I'm not sure who directed it, but I'm 95% sure he was incredibly heavily involved.
I want to get
That's
this
why he's
before
the
we do the
first
narrative. How
Yeah.
fucking good did parts of this film look?
Like visually stunning.
Oh
Visually,
my god!
crazy.
some elements of
the
this film
planet
looked
with like
incredible.
the salt and
The
the,
red
oh
sand,
my god!
Such a clever
salt,
device.
like-
the Snoke's room with the kind of red
Yeah,
dressing,
Snoke's room.
that red like flammable liquid that made up the walls. That was so cool.
Like every shot of the
Oh,
island as a
yeah.
whole. Like
Oh my
there
god!
were parts of this film. The fucking like light speed through the spaceship. Holy
fucking
fuck!
shit! Oh,
That was god damn it!
crazy.
I was
That was
like,
dope.
oh fuck.
everyone in the cinema, because
Everyone's
it's dead
like,
silent. Everyone went,
oh.
"Oh shit!" As
No,
it
there
went
was
dead
some people.
silent.
Some people were like whispering and stuff. That pissed me off. I was like, "This is a
that
quiet
was-
moment. Be fucking
That
silent,
was
people."
insane. I was
Oh.
like, oh, she's just gonna slam into it, and then it's just like,
Nope.
okay, suddenly
She went.
we're
She went to
Interstellar.
warp through the ship. Like,
Oh
come
my
on.
God.
Oh my god.
Horrifying.
I mean,
she
the,
real dead now.
the audience watching this film was really, really kind of.
Oh yeah,
annoying.
this was another classic.
lot of
You
instance
know,
of,
like people
yeah.
were like laughing at really weird.
At the
moments.
wrong stuff.
I was like,
Yeah.
"Why are you laughing? It's not even funny."
Yeah, like
To be fair, laughing at Yoda made sense. He looked horrible in this. He
well,
looked horrible
the-
for
yeah,
the
he
first
looked like
shot.
a puppet,
Yeah,
actually.
and then after that, well, because
He
at
looked
first,
exactly like a puppet.
did they run out of
well,
that
no,
CG budget?
at first he was CG, but then they
Then it
actually
was clearly a puppet.
Then he was a puppet.
I was
I
confused
don't
why
I
he
mean,
know-
wasn't-
I
people.
don't-
I mean,
I don't know
Star
why
Wars
they
fans are
didn't puppet
so
them.
fucking like they have such a big hard on for all the practical stuff, so it
Well,
makes
this
sense.
yeah,
I just
but
don't
it's
get
like I don't know why they did
that was
CG
the
for
first shot we
bit,
saw
yeah.
of him. Did they just run out of time?
First bit was like, ugh.
Also, there was a few shots where you didn't need him in frame. You could have just had the voice, but they tried to put him in all the frames they could.
And also, they didn't like from this is kind of more a narrative thing. They didn't like him just kind of appearing out of nowhere was so fucking dumb. Like it like made sense from the story, but like there was no kind of like setup for his arrival.
It
He was
would've-
just there. It would have been fine. It would have been like 10 times better if like earlier on Luke just said his name. just reference the fact. So you're like, oh yeah, Yoda. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll see Yoda, and then
And they could have done that really easily, when he was talking about the books on the shelf, and maybe
or
he
like
could
the
allude to Yoda
the
and
teach, like teach
Yeah.
me. It's just like, no, I can't. Blah blah blah. Yoda. Blah
yeah,
blah blah.
and you could have alluded to that stuff, and I think a way that would have been interesting. What's weird to me though is that Yoda wasn't just like a voice in his head. That would have made so much more sense. This is something that I've talked about before.
They've always
Yeah,
been.
but they've always done the
Force
ghost thing.
They've
But-
always been. Force
But
ghosts.
you've got a guy, and like, don't get me wrong, Luke, like in this is crazy strong, obviously, because he's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
But I think that it would have been more powerful if it's him, like when he's communing with the dead. I think that he's the kind of person that doesn't necessarily need a visual representation of
Yeah,
that
but the
person.
audience.
Yeah, but the
but we
audience
need to see
does
Yoda
need
though.
it,
Yeah, I
though.
know.
We need to see Yoda.
I just wish that first shot hadn't looked like absolute
yeah,
dog shit.
I cringed so hard. And
And then after that, it was like, so I
after
settled
that, it was
into
okay. Yeah, it was
That
weird.
first one, he looked like a CG character from a cartoon.
Yeah, he
Like,
was
it's just
very
really
rubbery.
bad.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Same
That
with-
might have been like a reshoot or an addition later on when the puppet
seemed like
had
it-
already fucked off.
Seemed like an addition.
Yeah,
But then they had all the time and money in the world, so I'm not sure.
it's fucking Disney. Well,
Yeah.
fucking
That's what
Disney's
they
all
did.
about just CG it in. People won't notice. Fucking Disney.
A few other
You
things.
can't get away with that in Star Wars, I guess.
A few other things that were crazy cool. Lightsabers are still extremely awesome.
I fucking love this
Yeah.
one.
Oh, I
They're never
also
gonna stop
I
being
love
cool.
the very like now that it's like 100% the difference between like Kylo's saber and like Luke's. Like it's just so nice the difference between them.
it's really cool.
I'm
Even
so
the sound.
oh the fucking noise that Kylo's lightsaber
Oh,
makes.
it's
just
the best.
I
And, like,
love that lightsaber.
Just oh man, the bit in the film where Luke is fighting him and then he turns his lightsaber off and it like that hum like goes out and it's like
Well, you can, yeah. Especially when you put that. Okay, so let's try and work it out, because what I want to do is put a lot of this in context, because it's really hard.
yeah.
Because this film has two. This film has like the Minas Tirith problem, right? Where it's like you have a film that's Lord of the Rings, by the way, for any of you keeping score at home.
Okay.
The problem
Right, yeah.
the problem with the
Yeah.
the first Lord of the Rings film, not the book. The book does a better job of it structurally, but the problem with that is that you have a really big lead up to them getting the they flee Rohan, and they get to Minas Tirith, and they have the big battle at Minas Tirith, and then they succeed in the battle because Gandalf arrives and he saves them or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is like really cool. But then at the same time, you've also got the battle happening at Sauron's Tower, which kind of detracts from how important the thing in Minas Tirith is.
you mean Saruman's tower?
Saruman's Tower? Sorry. Yes.
The other one.
The other S boy. Call them different. Use different letters. Tolkien, what are you doing? Anyway, but no. So it's like that kind
It's
of
a metaphor.
that issue felt like it's a metaphor because we named them literally almost the same thing. But this film like suffered from that a bit for me, where I was like, there was some cool moments where I'm like, no, don't cut away from this.
Don't go.
Linger on
What,
this.
there was
They
like
did
there was
they did cut a lot between
Yeah,
different
it was
events.
The
very
most
Phantom
obnoxious
Menace.
cut for me was like, yeah, fucking, I had flashbacks to that shit. The what moment was it? When they're when Kylo and Rey are sort of when they've killed Snoke. Spoilers.
Boy, that was cool.
yeah. when
Kylo
they've-
with the
Oh, that was a good
and they're
moment,
like, and they're
though.
about, and she's like about to, like touches, like sort of like join him. There's like a cut. There's like a 30-second split of just pointless shit in the middle of there.
it's
Like,
so
you could've-
Phantom
You could have
Menace.
just stayed.
Yeah.
It boggled my
Yeah.
mind.
That's where you go from like
There
you know,
were a lot of unnecessary cutaways. In this
Phantom
film.
Menace, you go from like,
well, it's like
dual face, the best fight
to like
ever.
them on a balcony with grapple guns, like readjusting their feet, slowly being like
back to young Anakin.
Natalie Portman being like, I gotta get the
young
gun in
Anakin
the right.
going, this is pod racing. Like,
This is
like,
yeah, it's like just show me the fight. It's so weird, and like especially like there was an amazing like pornographic shot of they've just killed Snoke and
they're having like,
they
the
get their
one take,
lightsabers.
Yeah.
And there's it's not slow mo. They stop time, and like as they get their lightsabers and they're about to draw them, and then they start time again, and then it's slow mo, and then they kick into real time, and it's paced so
And then
perfectly.
it cuts.
And I was like, whoa, and then it cuts away, and I'm like, what are you doing?
I know. I
Show
was
me them
so,
carving dudes
I
up.
there was so many things like.
I think that's why it was so hard to follow, though. As far as like because like I knew what was happening at all times, but the story, like I'm like, is this supposed to be a sad ending? Because
Yeah,
at the
it's
end
weird.
of it, when like I think the biggest indicator that like there's too many storylines is that when the end of this film is the first time that Poe and Rey met,
it was odd.
and I'm
Yeah, I
like,
didn't realize that
and I'm
until
like,
the end.
is it? because like in Force Awakens they don't meet because
Yeah.
they're fairly split. But like in this film, I was like, you sure?
You guys
sure?
really sure?
Yeah, it was crawl back. It's like, didn't they meet the it's like, no, they didn't. But it's like the film just like, 12 storylines at once.
Ryan,
That's like,
Ryan, it's Ben. Are you sure that they didn't meet? Because I'm doing this podcast right now, and listen,
I thought they met. It's like,
yeah,
it was,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was just
it's like,
like,
don't call attention.
it's like,
to
oh,
that
I'm,
movie.
yeah, don't call, yeah, just cut that bit
It's
out where
fine.
she's like, oh, I'm Ray. It's just like, I know. It's like,
That's the time you could have
What?
cut away if you were going to cut away.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, but
Cut back
here's-
to the
I mean,
fight scene. Yeah.
Was it supposed to be like so the first film was like a classic like hero's journey for Rey.
Well, the first film was episode 4.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a classic
Yeah.
hero's journey for
Yeah.
Rey, as I said. This film was nothing.
No.
It felt like it wanted to be a redemption plot, but
It
then
felt like
for Luke, but
Well,
also Rey, but then also the Kylo, but then
Yeah.
it felt like
what?
episode 1. Like this weird
Just a
like,
conglomerate.
jumping off point. Like
Even at least
it feels
even
like
kinda-
they were
it
setting
even
a lot
kinda
of things up.
it
but
even
then
kind of
was
started like episode
they're
1.
Yeah.
like, oh, the resistance is falling now. It's like, what?
That's like that's not how episode
But
1
it's-
started.
but you know what I mean? Like, I totally get what you mean. Like, it felt like it didn't have a narrative structure of any kind that was easy to, you know, like you can point to, like, you know, even Empire. That's like one of the best Star Wars films because that's like the heroes finally fall, and
But-
it's about what
yeah.
you do when you lose. And whereas this, it felt like that was what they wanted to do, but then at the end, they sort of Luke's redemption comes at the cost of the film having the impact that it might have needed. If he'd actually died
well,
in that
actually
like
died.
in that
Yeah.
place,
Yeah.
like if he got horribly murdered, you'd be like, oh,
well,
shit.
also he wouldn't have had his lightsaber.
Yeah, he wouldn't
Well,
have.
he should have-
Because Ray
Lightsaber was
had it.
split.
They didn't do
That
the
was-
one thing that I wanted, which was him to unkimber that very good green lightsaber.
I
wanted
was
him to
so
ignite
angry.
that. I was so horny for that.
Didn't he lose that in like the
depends-
Sarlacc pit in
depends
like
how-
episode 5?
Depends how you look at the extended canon.
I
Boba Fett has it, maybe.
Yeah.
It's not important. I just wanted it so. I wanted him to walk out. Well, by the way, that visual of him walking through with the snow, the
every
salt
visual.
and the
Well,
the,
even
the
the
red
bit
being
where
blood and,
like midway through their fight and they've like swapped places and he's got like the sun behind him, behind the legs of the AT-ATs, and he's just standing there. There's so many good wallpapers in
it
this
looks
film.
it looks like a comic book oil painting.
It's really
I
annoying
just-
because there's a lot of stuff that this film did well. The
Right.
story,
The story just kind of
the story kind of isn't one because it's
weird.
like it feels maybe it's like an editing problem because they're like trying. I don't know.
Okay, but someone pressed stop on the
Duh,
audio.
what are you talking
Don't
about?
know who's
No,
near the keyboard.
There's no way of knowing who did that.
That being said, what we were trying to get at was that I think the film wasn't super well served by a lot of the editing in this film, only insofar as maybe to give a bit more coherence to the structure and the narrative. Some
Just
scenes
the
just needed to be a bit
flow-
longer.
It just needed to not put things. I mean, we were talking about how they put the inserted things into the middle of other scenes, and
Yeah.
just the amount of cutaways in this film. Even like the climax, it's like, okay, we're gonna hold on, fucking Finn and Rose for like 3 seconds, and then we're back to the rebels, and now we're back to
Yeah.
goddamn whatever the fuck. And you're like, can we follow someone for a bit
Yeah.
longer now?
Just so I can like calm down after what's happened. Even
Yeah.
that, like, yeah, I think that contributed to the weird pacing thing where you're ready to slow down and be like, okay, this is an intermediary where we're taking a break from the action. You know, there's a sequence where I think it's just after so Rey leaves Luke and she goes and she's on the mission to go find Kylo, and there's a sequence with the rebels that's like kind of an interim scene where it's like slower, and it's just a filler for them to be like, we're running out of gas still,
Yeah.
like that kind of thing. But they cut really quickly between people talking and Poe being stressed that like a scene that should have been like, okay, take a deep breath, shit's gonna get real when she gets onto Kylo Ren's Star Destroyer. It just felt like I didn't have a chance to like take a breath.
Yeah.
And I think that was like an editing
There
decision.
was so many, like, the cutaway. Now that I think about it, there's so many really awkward cutaways in this film. Like the one where he's goddamn torturing Rey for information.
Right. Why wouldn't you keep on that.
And they literally, she's like screaming, and they're like, okay, we're gonna cut away now.
It's
And you're like,
wipe cut. You're like,
fucking-
what?
Why?
Like, did you just take like Adobe Premiere and just like shake up the box and throw it at the raw
I mean,
it's like,
footage?
why
Star
wouldn't
Wars
you
only
hold
does
on
wipe
that?
cuts.
Like, why wouldn't you let that scene play out and give it the tension that it deserves?
She's like screaming, and then it's just like the circular wipe cut.
And then-
Just
So
the
weird.
and
best
then
of
later
wipe
it's like,
cut.
okay,
So
now
weird.
she drops to the floor, and you're like, why couldn't we have just seen that
Yeah.
happen?
and like especially the tension with Kylo and his decision making, they clearly wanted to lean into it, but they were like, "This is gonna." They were like, "People are gonna find
It's
this
just gonna
boring."
happen.
Like,
we're
you
just
would-
gonna
yeah.
we're just get it over and done with.
Which is such a shame because like Adam Driver acted the shit out of this.
Oh my
film.
god, he did.
They like, I think there's so much like weird, like what's the word, like lamp shading in this film.
Yeah.
It's not really the right word, but like when he smashes his helmet, you're like, okay, they want to make him a real character.
No, that is what that's called. It's,
Yeah.
with lamp shading
It's
or
not really
hanging a
lamp.
lantern.
It's just
Uh,
like they were just like, look, we're gonna smash his
No,
helmet.
it's like signaling. They're like, listen,
Yeah.
we're moving.
we're making
on
him
from-
Yeah.
a real character.
He's and that's even good insofar as, you know, you have Snoke goading him, being like, "You're just a fucking kid in a mask," and he's like, "Fine."
and it's like, yeah,
everyone's
that's what
like,
everyone
yes,
was
that's what
thinking in the
everyone-
first film.
and then he goes, "Fine, I'll be more."
There was so much weird stuff in this film that was like, just like, not a nod, but like a weird kind of like look at sort of not critics, but like people who are like super got into episode 7. So
Mhm.
like everyone who had the opinion of just like, Kylo Ren's just like a kid. It's like, it's literally in the film. And like my favorite thing is when Kylo's just like, you're like, you want to know your parents? Guess what? And everyone's like, yes.
and it's
just
like, there's
no one.
nobody. Oh, that was great.
And it's like, you are not important to the story. And everyone's like, oh, okay.
It's really, that's so smart.
I'm
And
so...
oh, it's so
Well,
good.
it's the combination, and this is why I feel like this film at least changed slightly.
huh? It was good.
It was okay.
We're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you can tell from the cameras. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
yeah, no, so
but I feel like that and the final, like the ending, which like is just
when you
It
say
was-
the ending, do you mean when they were in the Millennium Falcon?
no, I mean the kid with the
I
force.
fucking forgot that happened.
Holy
yeah,
shit, I forgot as well.
But,
Wow.
you guys serious? Like like that? Like,
I mean, it was
episode
good,
9.
but there's so much stuff that happened in this film, like, immediately
No,
forgot it.
Laura's
Like,
right, where it's like, there was a whole mess.
Yeah,
of
but
stuff
like,
coming
but
at
like,
you.
I was trying to
there's
keep the
elements of
plot
this
in my
film
head.
that I feel like they were almost like added in. Like they clearly didn't modify anything due to Carrie Fisher's death,
Yeah.
Yes.
because her character lives through the whole film. Everyone was like kind of waiting for it, and like it never
thought-
happened. We were like,
yeah.
oh, cool.
I thought she was going to
Okay.
stay behind on the cruiser.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I thought. I was
I
like,
thought- I
yeah,
thought
Holdo's
I
gonna
thought
be
numerous times she was just gonna like go, and it's like, okay,
They even
nope, she's
fake
still
out. They
there.
even fake out her death at one
Oh,
point.
they fake it out.
They
constantly,
did-
yeah.
Which I
Oh
bet
my
they feel
God.
really bad about now.
What?
No, I
They
think
faked out her death when she goes in space and is a space wizard.
I feel like that was intentional.
I know that. I know that
I
they're
feel like
trying
they
to-
added that.
I know that they're trying to. Yeah,
I feel like that was added after her death.
as them. Yeah, that does seem likely that they were like,
Like,
this is our
I-
send off for her. She's force
and-
sensitive and
Yeah.
you know, and I think that's a
Space
nice
wizard.
Yeah, space wizards.
But I feel like it's almost they were like, all right, we can either do some weird cop out thing where we just get rid of Leia, or alternate theory, we completely steer the plot in a different direction in episode 9.
Which
and
I
it's
would like
actually
to
that.
see.
Well, that's
I mean-
why if them coming along and saying, guess what, Rey is no one. She doesn't have like her parents. They
Yeah,
just kinda
she's
sold
not a
her out.
Skywalker.
She
It's
just
pretty
happens to be
smart,
force
honestly.
sensitive.
Yeah.
But this kid's also force sensitive.
I mean,
And he
I
looks
think
a lot
the
like
idea is
Anakin.
that
I'm
like
gonna be
there could be.
somebody.
I mean, the idea is it could
He's
be
a-
anyone,
he's a
right?
slave
it's
kid.
like the Harry Potter thing where like
He
you
races
like
things.
you could be this
He's
kid.
blonde.
He's got so many metachlorines.
Oh my-
Sorry, you were saying something of some value, and Ben
All
completely
right.
derailed us. Go
All
ahead.
right. Yeah, no, but no, I think the idea is that because, you know, this kid's force sensitive, you just have to believe in it, and like any
Yeah.
kid all over the fucking galaxy
Right.
could turn out to be a Jedi.
Yeah, if a kid who's the kid of two junker parents who sell her off to get drinking money
Can be force
can
sensitive,
be
yeah.
be like a Jedi.
Yeah.
And
Anyone
I think it's more about the strength of their conviction than it is about
Yeah, well,
anything else.
I feel like that's a big through line of this film. When you look at like Kylo Ren, his biggest downfall is the blood that he has, and it's the Skywalker bloodness, the Solo blood that have made him into what he is. It's the expectation of greatness that have made him into the monster that he's become. When you look at Rey, who is no one, he comes from nothing, and she's able to become someone,
Right.
which is a really powerful message, right?
Making her own legacy rather than
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Which is like what Anakin was supposed to do. That was the whole point of Anakin. He was just a kid who, like a nobody, who then comes and becomes someone.
Well,
but then,
and he starts the timeline. He starts the bloodline.
Exactly, and then you've got this other person who is doing the same thing. But I think what's interesting about the dichotomy of like your character arcs for Kylo Ren and Rey, especially putting them in those weird situations that are so very intimate, not just like physically, but like to mentally intimate, where you're it's not a so in a story when you have characters interact, they're usually in control of when that happens. So like a good example is, you know, in a crime story, a lawyer will like bust into the police officer's office and is like, you can't convict this person, you're out of your bloody mind, and they've made a bunch of decisions that have led them to be in that space interacting. What's really interesting and a confronting way to examine characters to say, well, what if they're in an intimate situation that they can't control? And that's what this film did really well, is they said, well, what if Rey and Kylo had were forced into intimacy by something beyond their control? It turns out to be Snoke, of course, laying this trap.
Then something else.
Well,
because there's a fourth time they do it, and it's Snoke's dead, and you're like,
well, no, because at that point, Rey and Kylo have established that connection through the Force, and Rey has also tapped into that shit.
I can roll with that.
Yeah.
On that, I wanted to talk about some of the really like things that this film really did well.
Yeah, go for it.
And one of that is sort of portraying things without sort of having to explicitly tell people. And sort of the first example of this was right at the beginning, where you've got that that attack on the cruiser, whatever the fuck it's called.
We're gonna call it a cruiser. Do you mean the
Dreadnought? Yes.
the bad guy?
That thing.
big one.
Yeah. So when
was scary.
the bomber's going in, and she's got this very prominent
yeah, she's
necklace.
got this half moon Force medallion thing.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
It's a symbol of the Force.
The good conductor.
Temple, I think.
It
so.
looks like a yin and yang.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's got that,
Space yin and
she helps to blow up the dreadnought, and it's like, and you know, you've seen that little thing, and it's got a half, and you're like, okay. And then later when you see Rose, you don't have to be told that that's her sister. She just starts talking about the fact that she has a sister, and you go, yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was the same shape.
I think they were.
No, it was the other half.
They were reversed.
It was the other half.
What was clever is I thought it was a good fake out. This is just the Star Wars nerd in me talking. Because the symbol on it is the symbol of the Force. And I thought it was a fake out where, like, this is a rebel person, she believes in the Force, and she's going to die for her cause. And then later on, it's, you know, you got Rose with the same necklace. I was like, oh, that's really nice. Like, they got me real good as a dumb, nerdy fan. You know, I felt, I was like, oh, they got me, and now I feel something.
And so the other thing on
all
that,
you.
I had a second one.
Yes,
thing.
I was trying to help
okay.
at the end.
Those conversations between Rey and Kylo, they did a really interesting thing with the camera work, where they were never in the same frame together until that moment where their hands touched.
Yes.
It
So
was
clever.
so good.
So clever. Because then you're like, oh shit, now it's real. And then you suddenly get that, it's the bridging of, because the concept could have been easy, right? And because, you know, Force ghosts are they're physically in the space with you.
They could have done, like, had one of them in the room with the other.
But having it be that, what is it? You talk about with the angles, 180 degrees kind of thing?
You not crossing the 180.
Yeah, and they did that pretending they were in the same room.
They literally did reverse shot, but the background
was
different.
Yeah.
So smart. That would have been such a challenge to film. Like,
that must have been heavily choreographed.
Yeah, well, they would have obviously shot the scenes differently.
Narrative-wise, they kind of also explain, like, if you assume that it's like a weird Force ghost situation, because Kylo says,
He can
in
see
the
her.
first one, he can see her, but he can't see where she is. Whereas she says, she sort of does she like confirm that she can see where he is?
Yeah, so I assume he's in. Sorry, I assume she's in his space.
So that makes her the ghost.
Yes,
Like she was ghosted.
because he's the anchor. Because Snoke is using him as the anchor.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think from a story perspective, it works.
So that just kind of explains how force ghosting, what it's like.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
what I'm curious about in this film, and this is sort of why I'm confused about what kind of story they were trying to tell, is the Force. The whole point of the Force Awakens is this is a new chapter, and the Force is different. It's so insanely more powerful than you even realize.
Yeah.
You know, Snoke does lightning at a drop of a hat. It's not like a thing. He just does it. It's really
Kylo
quick and
Ren
easy.
can like hold laser beams.
Kylo Ren can stop, blast, stasis them in air. Like, people can do things that it was a challenge for Luke to lift a rock before, but now, Rey can lift 25 at once.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, and just real quick, because we have to touch on this, because I loved it as like a little gesture, is on Luke's island, he crashes X-Wing into the lake, into the water.
Yeah.
I was like, that is such a nice touch.
Yeah, that was smart.
That was
I was like,
that
we're
was
gonna get
nice.
another X. We're gonna whoop.
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
but
was
then they don't
wondering
do
if
it.
they were going to do that.
Well, I thought
Yeah.
that was
They
how
didn't.
he was maybe going to get back to them, but it's like it was just a nice touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nostalgia without being like, do you guys remember Star Wars? Like, it was just
It was crashed in the water. It wasn't crashed in a swamp.
It's crashed because he's
Yeah.
bad at flying, because he's been a bad pilot for a long time.
Yeah.
But the point that I was going to make before I got distracted by how nice that little touch was, is that if you want Luke to be the sort of the heroic sacrifice at the end, but it's like a mournful one, because he's been out of the game for so long, he was basically dead anyway.
Yeah.
This is a guy who's come to die. He's rejoined the fray.
He wants to die.
Yeah, he's ready to die.
Fucking
he's at peace with it.
Yeah,
Just go in and
just bloody kill him.
do what Obi-Wan does that in.
I was
in A
waiting
New
for I
Hope.
was waiting for the Obi-Wan.
But what was interesting is, and this is where I'm kind of like, I don't know if I like it, is that the whole point of that is that he sacrificed himself to save the Resistance, right?
Yeah.
But
And
it was kind of hollow because he
but
wasn't
I-
really there.
it would have been
the
really
thing is,
logistically difficult to get him in that situation. A, with the lightsaber. B, there in the first.
But I
place.
think that if
From
you
a
think
story
about it
perspective, yeah.
from his perspective, he knew that was his plan. Like, he was like, I'm going to go there as a Force ghost, and I'm going to trick him to buy
Yeah.
him time. That was his plan, and he knows it's going to kill him because of the effort it's going to require.
Yeah.
He talked about there's a reference at one point where I think it's Kylo Ren, where he's like, who's doing? I can't think of what it is, but he's like, I think he's wondering if Rey's doing so. Yeah, it's the first time they connect. And he's
Yeah.
like, well, you're not doing this because the amount of effort would kill you.
Right.
So it's that idea of Force ghosting when you're alive takes your life energy.
Oh yeah. So yeah, Rey was being the ghost.
Yeah. So it's like that to me is really interesting, where what you're actually talking about is Luke's realized it's his best strategy to succeed, to actually stop
It's all right. I was
to
holding it.
actually be effective in that situation.
Yeah.
But what sucks is that narratively it really like took away from the punch of his death.
Yeah.
Because what would have been good is he goes out and he's just a man against this like army, and Kylo Ren's like, "What are you planning? What's he gonna do? Don't fire." Just,
Mind you, another thing about on the Force
Yeah, that's
ghosting
why
thing.
the bullets.
When they do the thing in the hands touch, Luke comes in and he can see both of them.
Shit.
Good point.
Can he? I don't think he can.
Well, in that situation,
No, he can because
in
they're
that
touching.
situation,
They've
Kylo
connected.
is there.
Yeah, Kylo's there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
well,
guess
they're there together. It's not important. It's a psychic space magic wizards. The point that I was trying to
We're
make
skipping past that.
is that it feels like it diminishes the fact that Luke made a sasacrifice, because what would have been dope as hell is he goes there physically and he's he's cut his hair and shit and he's ready to die, which I thought was a nice touch. And he rocks up and he's there, and Kylo's like, I don't know, like, this one guy walks out in front of an army.
Yeah.
And Kylo knows this guy could do something. He's like, I don't know what the fuck he's gonna do. Don't do anything.
Yeah.
Don't shoot him. Like, I want the idea of like Kylo's remorse and his fear of this man like hold him back from stopping him. And then what you could get is that really cool scene where Kylo goes out and he ignites that very good lightsaber, and then you've got Luke Skywalker who's like, do it. And then you kind of have the Han Solo thing from the previous film, except now when he does the chop, you repeat the Obi-Wan thing and he becomes a ghost. And then
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that would have
I mean,
been fine.
they did that anyway, so like I'm fine.
Yeah.
But then we would have missed out on the lightsaber duel.
It was pretty cool.
Stuff,
Also,
which was cool.
the dope fake out with him being shot to hell was pretty cool as well. It was all very cool.
It was
I
all
really
good.
enjoyed this film. I just think that there was some things they could have done that would have solidified what it was that they.
I salute the continued diversification of the Star Wars cast.
Yeah, this film does pass the Bechdel test.
Yeah.
Yay,
Are
Rose.
you saying Bechdel or Bechdel?
It's
What do you-
Bechdel test.
Because the Bechdel test is something else. How do you say it?
Bechdel test.
is
That's
that
a
what-
sauce.
People-
dude.
Zoe Bechamel.
It's the Bechdel test.
Bechdel.
Yeah,
It is.
Yeah,
I say
why-
Bechdel test.
Really?
Zoe Bechamel.
It's the Bechamel
yeah,
test.
you keep,
You just get a
you keep
little
saying
bit-
that. And I'm like, he means the Bechdel test, but I'm also not sure if it is called that. No,
Just gonna
but
keep saying it until it is.
I'm totally with you there. Like, it was like gender, age, ethnicity, just fantastic. Very good. Very, like, everyone seemed to really want to be there. They're really enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
And it seemed like everyone that was making this and was on it had, like, a great time doing it.
I mean, who doesn't want to be in a Star Wars film?
I know.
I think this film is definitely. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if it's like compared to Episode 7. So it's better than Rogue One.
Yep.
That's an easy.
Yep.
That's an easy call to make.
Easy. Lobo.
I mean,
like-
Rogue One had a more comprehensible story.
Doesn't make it a good story,
kind of,
though.
yeah.
There's your it. Like, whilst this was a model, if I sat there and I, like, drew out all the arcs and I took, like, story theory, I was like, okay, that's what
There's like
is.
one bad arc.
Yeah, you can work it. Like, you can work it out.
I think
and I think
the Finn arc is kind of weak. I'm not a
Right.
huge
Yeah.
fan of it. Like, I thought his fight with Phasma was good, but like, I wish they fleshed out Phasma more.
Yet another
in-
villain falling to their death.
think she
Nah,
might
she's
not be
fine.
dead.
She's
though.
fine. She's
You
100%.
reckon?
Yeah.
Star
Villain, when
Wars.
someone falls, they're dead. You like, even if you get chopped, like when Snoke got chopped in half, I was like, nah, he ain't
I was
dead.
like, he ain't dead.
I was
I
like,
was
yeah,
like,
he's fine.
it's fucking Star Wars,
He's
dog.
fine. This is Star Wars. He's fine.
Fucking Star Wars, I swear
You
to
can
God.
fall down as many pits as you want. You'll be fine.
He did get chopped the fucking half, though.
Yeah.
he got chopped.
I wasn't expecting
People
that. That's pretty
literally were
good.
like, yeah, he's dead.
I like that
Yeah.
segment. I like that little bit.
Maybe his, like, evil
wordplay.
energy will come back, though. We don't know.
Like the wordplay he had going on, where like,
What's that?
well, because he was in Kylo's brain.
Well, yeah. So
and he's
well,
like,
Kylo
oh, he's
was-
gonna kill his
'cause
true
he can read
enemy.
his- he can read his intention. So Kylo repeated the intention on both
on
sabers.
both. Yeah.
That's like. By the
No,
way,
I thought that was really
by the way,
cool.
that's just this is for you, M Night Shyamalan. Whatever.
That's how you do a twist.
That's how you do a twist.
Oh.
That's a twist because all of the
Oh, it
information
was
is available
so
to
fucking
you.
fantastic, and it didn't like go
I
out
mean,
of its way to explain it to the audience, which was
Well, it
like,
made sense
thank
because you knew that he was conflicted. So when Snoke was repeating what was in his mind, it was believable.
this.
'Cause he
That's
committed.
the
Yeah.
thing that I like about this film that I was talking about
committed to
before
being
is that
evil.
it doesn't treat the audience like idiots. It treats
Yeah.
us like adults.
Wow. It
Well, to that last
treats you
shot.
like adults, and then it's like space wizards.
Yeah,
Space
I mean, but like it
You know.
lets you figure things out, and
Yes.
it's like, oh, it's been. Oh, movies don't do that these days. I
This is
swear to God.
This is the part of the episode where I write a personal PSA to Stephen Moffat. When that happened, when Kylo Ren he did his very clever thing, the reason that worked is that character at that time had all of the available resources and all the information he needed to execute that twist. But so did the audience. And as you see it happening, you can slowly work it out, and you go, "Okay, he's thought this through."
It's not even Kylo Ren like showing off and being smart. It's Kylo Ren. Like, he was obviously being tricky, but like it wasn't the kind of thing. It was like, it wasn't a fucking Sherlock moment.
No, he just
No.
outthought his opponent.
Yeah.
And that's what a good twist is. That's what a good outcome is. And we could have
Well,
seen it coming.
It was
right?
it's like the big line of it is where it's just like he's about to take out his biggest enemy, and you're like, it's not like it wasn't a thing. It's because Kylo Ren was thinking that anyway. Like, Snoke is
He's his
like, to
biggest
him,
opponent.
Yeah,
He's gone full Sith, right?
It is
Right.
just a it is. Yeah.
Right,
Like,
Sith Lords killing
they-
their masters. That's like
Yeah.
a thing,
Fucking
right?
Rule-
Ruler 2, it's so dumb.
But it's this thing where it's like Kylo Ren is still thinking on such a like reactionary and
Primordial,
like,
yeah.
and like animalistic level, but it still works. Like, it still defeats Snoke, who is this like higher intelligence kind of character, because it's it's kind of just the truth. Like, he's not like, haha, I got you, Snoke. You thought I was thinking about.
It's just a snap. It's a snap response.
Yeah, it was almost as if he was going to do either, and in the last moment, it just happened to be Snoke. Like, his brain was bouncing back and forth. It was like, it's going to be one or the other, but it was both up until the point where
he'd already started doing it, right? Like,
well, he was motioning for both.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, it's not until you're in the middle of doing that action that you realize your decision, and that's why I think that works really well. Just even from like a character perspective, and I think that's why his arc is so good in this. Like, he sort of, he has the beginnings of a redemption arc, which, by the way, for anyone like studying narrative, that's also the same beginning as a damnation arc.
Yeah,
which is why this works really well.
We're gonna see. I think
we're gonna pivot point.
We're gonna see more conflict between him and that commandery boy.
I mean, Commander doesn't really stand up to him at all, though.
Well,
just for the fact that he can't really question him.
He can, but I think there's cunning to him. Like that shot where we had where Kylo was on the ground. He's just like, well, and he wakes up. He's like,
yeah, you can
like,
tell
that was like that's all you need to be like, okay, that's gonna be conflict.
Well, Hux has always hated Kylo.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's an interesting conflict there because suddenly you've got this guy who's like Kylo is like one of the most powerful people in the universe,
and he's like, I really.
And Hux is like, I have to get rid of him, but also if I do anything wrong, he's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
So it's that power dynamic that is really interesting with a character like Kylo who's young and impulsive.
Yeah.
They called Kylo Ben a lot in this film.
Which I thought was kind of nice.
Were you weirded out, Ben?
No.
I didn't even occur to me that you had the same name. Only because I knew him as Kylo first. You know what I mean?
There were numerous people called Ben.
There's a lot of Bens out there.
Ben still. Oh yes, that's. Oh wait, no, I'm not Ben still. I'm a different Ben.
I'm still Ben. Yeah. That's a bad joke. No, but I think the point that I kind of might want to tie this all together with, and I'm going to try and do it because I have an idea of what I wanted to say coming into this, and I think together we found the center of what this film was about. But at the same time, whilst it has its weaknesses, it's just kind of a. It's a hot mess as far as like the way that it's cut together.
Mess, but there's so much good stuff. That's sort of what I've
It's a delightful mess, and I think that only happens when you have people making something that they're impassioned about, people that care about the property they're working on. There's no sequence in this where you think, oh, but they just slapped that in there. It all feels like the people who are writing this and putting it together and editing, and all of it feels like they went, we want to make a great Star Wars film, and you can feel that through the cinematography and the acting and the way that things are shot and the sequencing and the twists and the turns and all the characters and the arcs and stuff. As much as some of them are blundery and they're weak and they're kind of like all over the place, that somehow for me imbues the spirit of Star Wars in such a way that maybe Episode 7 couldn't quite capture because it was very by the numbers.
Yeah.
Whereas this was very much like, we're just going to try really hard to make something real cool. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I think that to me is what taking a risk is about when it comes to storytelling.
Like, I feel like Episode 7 piqued my interest for this film through just sort of being new. And it was like, okay, Episode 7 was just kind of Episode 4. Like, where are they going to go with this? Like, that was like why, like, that was why I was interested in this film. But then, like, coming out of this film, it's like, if they can take, like, just the solid narrative structure of Episode 7, maybe not the hero's journey, maybe something else that they are good at, but then like take the good shit from this film, like take the awesome visuals, like the better fight scenes, like some of the interesting like character dynamics, and just give us a good final. There's another trilogy coming.
I mean, they've put it in an interesting spot for episode.
Yeah,
9.
the kid.
Well, I mean,
like that. Cool. The thing is, the kid.
No, but
the
thing
could easily just be.
I don't think.
Like a
no,
reference.
I don't think the kid's gonna be it. No, I don't think the kid's gonna feature.
I think that's Ryan Johnson showing
I think it's just a kid.
Yeah. I think it could go.
You just got.
It's probably just like some hope thing because Star Wars is all about hope.
I think it is.
Yeah. But I'm afraid.
But I think
the
like
Force.
No. No.
Ben's not wrong. Half of Star Wars is bad, so
no, but
remains to be seen.
Yeah, but they are in sort of a spot where they've gone. The rebels are back to basics at this point.
Like a weird
they
soft
don't
reboot of the story again.
They don't have any resources left,
right?
And it's sort of Gonna be interesting where they take it from here.
I'm curious, but
the opening credit scroll for this film could be the exact same for the next one.
Yeah,
Which is kind of they haven't really changed.
That's
much.
kind of why I really liked it.
Yeah,
I felt like it was just a slice
the
of what they
opening
had to
scroll
deal
for
with.
this film was so nice. It was just like,
Will
our
really-
daring heroes escape? Find out in the next 3
right
hours.
now! It was very good. It was very
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It was a nice departure from like politics.
There's
Oh,
25
yeah.
Senate members. Like, God,
Oh fuck.
shit.
Oh.
All Republic, fuck, God, shit. This was like, it's bad news, mate. Let's see what happens. You know,
Yeah.
no, I don't know. I had a great time. There's no, my profundity is over. I did my rant. I just
Yeah.
think it was really good.
I cried twice.
I didn't cry,
cry.
but I had shivers a few times.
In a few moments,
Well,
I
goosebumps.
think the
I cried once in the bit where Leia's like outside
when
and they
when
do the
Leia
fake out where
when
she
Leia
space wizards back in.
I was like, what
I had-
the
Well,
fuck?
I cried
I was-
before she
that was-
space wizards back in.
That-
Wait, what
I
was your first
bonkers.
cry moment?
that
when
that
she
one.
died.
My second.
died.
That was my first one. My
Uh-huh.
second one was her and Luke together.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was
yeah,
pretty good. That was
yeah,
pretty good.
that
With
was
the
pretty
light and
nice,
the
yeah.
hope. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
That scene for me was like when he was like, no one's ever gone. I was like, oh, Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, I know.
I think
That was
scene
the
was
bit
like,
that made me bawl.
I was like,
That-
that's
that was
fucking,
absolutely the
like,
bit that made
how
me
do
bawl.
you, like, how do you write that shit?
I mean, they play
Oh.
the audio from when Luke turns up in Return of the Jedi when he turns up in this one,
Yeah.
and I died a little bit. I was like, that's a really familiar.
Oh.
Oh, Carrie Fisher was so good in this
Yeah,
film. And I
she was
was,
Her accent, she really laid it on thick in this
went
one.
really into
It
it.
was real good.
Yeah, I was like, man, she needs a glass of water, man.
I think at this point she was just like, no, fuck the British
Fuck
accent.
it.
Just go full,
Lean in.
almost Texan.
Space
yeah.
cowboy Texan.
Yeah.
It was
I don't know
great.
what they're going to do in the next film, but Carrie Fisher, though, why?
They may just CGI. I mean, they may have some footage.
They had a dedication to her in the
Well, this is
credits,
a hard
'cause
note
of
to
course they
end
did,
on.
and I was just like,
Yeah.
oh.
Because now I have to sell shit. And I'm going to feel bad about it. She's
could
dead,
just-
and like you
we
put me
could
in a really
just-
weird corner. I have to
just
plug our
I'm
shit
sorry.
now.
We've got to plug it anyway. So
Ah, fuck, Ben. It's the end of the episode. Where can people find us?
Facebook, unfortunately.
DCM Works Social.
I'm very sorry to say, but Twitter,
At DCM_works.
YouTube,
YouTube.com/DCM Works.
Patreon.
Patreon.com/DCM Works.
Right, that's it.
Yeah. Also, if you want merchandise, Redbubble.com.
Well, I mean, yeah, you guys. I was giving you an option.
Yeah,
but if
well,
you-
that's how we make significant dollar. So if you want to get a sweet t-shirt. Also, if you're a Patreon and you're confused by what's happened this week with Patreon, because there's been some crazy shit.
they reverted it.
Yeah, but
Oh, really?
just send me an email if you like don't get, because I know a few of you were like, what's happening? Send me an email. They're not doing it, but yeah, I can see why you might be concerned.
Yeah, it got
yeah,
reverted yesterday.
Yeah, so shoot us an email if you are confused or concerned or whatever. 'Cause
So they realized that it was a bad
Yeah.
idea
Long
because
story
everyone
short,
said it was a
everything's
bad
fine,
idea.
but,
yeah, long story short, nothing changed, but they
yeah.
lost a ton of people because they made a really big mistake.
Yeah,
They'll
they
come
did
back
the
eventually.
dumb
Yeah.
thing.
But we have to end the thing. We have to end the episode. So this is the bit where I say I'm at DCM, I hate pie.
Yeah,
What? No, I said I'm at DCM, I hate pie.
I'm at a little research.
I was doing it. No, we're not ending yet. I was
Oh.
doing the thing. I know that one's dead. I was doing it. I was ending it right
No,
then.
you're like, this is the part where I say I'm at DCM.
And I said I'm at DCM, I hate pie. I said it.
I'm at Little
Oh
Citrus.
my god, guys!
No, we're doing it again. This
Okay.
doesn't count. I'm at DCM, I hate pie.
I'm at Little Citrus.
I'm at Laura Ducky B.
We'll see you guys next time.
It was probably a song that reminded me of it, or I'd done an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Writing is definitely an isolating thing.
From an
Yeah.
outside perspective, that's weird as
It makes
fuck.
us look really mental.
But that is
because of what it kind of said about art.
I had fun in bits. There were fun bits.
we went and bought a value pack of straps.
Oh my god, we did. There's a big lesson here to learn about storytelling.